Welcome to this presentation for my more traditional photographs for the month of July. So all those photos this month are going to be taken with the SL2 and mainly my Summarit-M lenses, which are Leica lenses, f2.5 of aperture and 35mm, 50mm, 75mm, and 90mm. So that's those two pictures are a continuation of my trip in the United States on the West Coast. Those two pictures are around Independence Day, which is the day the United States found their independence. So it's the 4th of July. It's around that time, early July. So on the left, that's a picture in Morgan Hill. This ambiance of having cattle in farms and those dry lands. And on the right, that's in Half Moon Bay, with those American flags. They've prepared for the party of the 4th of July that you can find a little bit everywhere. Quite typical feeling of those houses on the border of the Pacific Ocean. Those two pictures, that's the salt fields and the marshlands of the Bay area of San Francisco, really near that's East Palo Alto, so it's middle of the Silicon Valley. Again, one picture of those marshlands, which you're not allowed to go everywhere, either for your own safety or simply because it's private land. And those salt concretions on the right, which are pretty impressive. Here, those two pictures are from the 4th of July. And the picture on the left is in Morgan Hill, on the right in Half Moon Bay. Half Moon Bay being slightly south of San Francisco on the Pacific Ocean coast. But in most villages and communities, you'll have on the 4th of July people partying and having a day off, trying to enjoy themselves together for the Independence Day. So you'll find all those small communities finding every pretext to make things fun, or simply, as on the picture on the right, trying to relax and look at the horizon and try to figure out what life brings up next. Here are two pictures which are actually a dual photo. So for those who don't know, dual photos is a photograph taken on both sides of a plane. So I'm actually looking on the left, I'm looking in one direction, and the other picture on the right is looking directly in the other direction. So it's a back-to-back dual photography example. I've been doing dual photography for a very long time, for many years, and actually I've developed iPhone apps to do dual photography because smartphones obviously are the perfect tool to have a camera on both sides and take a picture at the same time on both sides. So that's a back-to-back dual photograph in Morgan Hill. That gives also an idea of that village ambiance, the suburbs of Morgan Hill, how peaceable it is, and that's probably on the 4th of July too. I'm not sure. Here, region of Morgan Hill, I kind of liked those two pictures, trying to express this consumer society that is the United States, and you have all those shopping carts in line, ready to, a little bit like a symbol of consumerism, ready to go and consume. And on the right, I had this picture, which I didn't prepare. I just found myself there with this cart, almost looking like he was looking at his friend or brother on the back, far away, like how do you say, like if he had fallen in the war on consumption. Anyways, those two pictures, same equipment, and we're moving way to another place, and that's because I'm flying to Iceland on those two pictures. I have a photo project in Iceland, and that's part of it. So again, those two pictures, first, it reminds me of how important it is to choose your seat in the plane when you travel for photography. Look at what time you're arriving or departing, and which side of the plane is going to be more interesting if it's possible. It depends sometimes on the winds and many things. But for example, Iceland, when you arrive to Iceland, usually from Europe, which was the case here, you better sit on the right side of the plane to get a good glimpse of the island when you arrive. Anyways, just to remind you, look at those small details. Sometimes you'll have some really interesting shots just because you were well prepared. On the left, interesting thing, it's I'm actually shooting with the electronic shutter on the Leica SL2 camera, and I'm probably at the 40,000ths of a second. And what's interesting is when you do electronic shutter, you sometimes have artifacts, because here we can see the turbine in the engine turning really fast, and with this really fast shutter speed, the pattern of the turbine gives you some really weird shapes. I found that quite interesting, actually, graphically speaking. And otherwise, on the right, that's the arrival south of Reykjavik, arriving at the Keflavik International Airport. We're getting there, and this nice view on the coast, on the south coast of Iceland. Here, those two pictures are in Reykjavik, so really interesting for those who haven't been to Iceland. It's really Nordic constructions, but the constructions are quite variable in how they were done historically, and because of the recent boost in tourism. So there are some really interesting urban shots to be taken. On the left, it's basically, that's the work they're doing for an extension of the city hall, I believe. But I like this ambiance, this kind of gray but very luminous ambiance of that shot. And on the right, we can see the Hallgrímskirkja. Not sure I pronounce it well. The cathedral in Reykjavik at the back, where you can actually go and climb at the top floor and have a fantastic view of the whole region. But yeah, some small details of a city. I like to do that when I travel. Try to figure out other points of view. Doesn't mean the pictures are going to be great, but it's also a way to get into it and go search for it. Those two pictures, they're in that photo project I have. I've been going around the island, and that's a small tour I did during this month of July. Iceland is a really interesting island geologically, and in terms of the landscapes you're going to cross. Obviously, you've seen pictures from many super talented photographers. I try to do things a little bit differently, but everything's really fantastic to look at, and there's no limits in what you're going to see there. I was trying to bring this strong feeling of nature, and here on the left picture you have the biggest glacier in Iceland, which is south of the island. And I liked this mix of the wind blowing in the grass and this car shooting by on one of the dirt roads in the back. And again, not far away from the glacier, you have those huge cliffs from really far away, and those really interesting mountain ranges that you don't find everywhere else. Here's those two pictures. Iceland is really a country of water. You've got water in all its forms everywhere. There's those incredible waterfalls everywhere, very different types, and you've got snow, you've got ice. It's really a paradise for nature lovers. It's pretty cool. The weather is not that warm, but anyways, it's really a very, if you're not scared of that, I don't know if I even need to recommend you going there, but yeah, please do. Not very carbon neutral, but you can go by boat maybe. And again, here's those glaciers. You have some really huge features of those glaciers. This is the same glacier we saw before, but viewed from its west side. And you have a lake in front, and you can see on the right side a small boat with people on it, just to give you an idea of of how big that glacier is. So the gigantism of nature is clearly something you will sense when you're traveling there. Those two pictures, there's more on the east side of the island. The picture on the left, that's southeast. You have those huge waterfalls everywhere. Some are really photogenic. Actually, I don't really like the term photogenic because before taking a picture, I think you really have to sense it without thinking about taking a picture. And in real, everything you see there is kind of more powerful than in photo. Photos really don't give you a sense of the gigantism and the power of nature. And on the right, that's east side of the island, but in the north, you've got fields and obviously very interesting landscapes. But you also have in some regions, you have very little trees in Iceland. But some places, like on the picture here on the left, you will find yourself in places that kind of look like Germany or some parts of Scotland, but it's pretty rare to have trees like I have on the left. But you mostly have those huge surfaces and mountain ranges bordering the sea. Here again, those two pictures. The picture on the right, that's going south towards Reykjavik from Akureyri, which is the second largest city in the island. You have those really huge valleys and those incredible peaks around. So, and volcanoes everywhere, like you can see on the left side. You have this volcano we can see at the horizon. And always those colors, green, brown, gray, and those blue skies. Here's those two pictures. The picture on the left I find interesting for one reason. I usually don't really I take my wide angle lenses, but I don't really take pictures with them. But sometimes I feel it's necessary. And here on the left, that's a 17 millimeter Atoll f2.8 lens made for M mount, Leica M mount, adapted to SL2, made by Lomography, a fantastic lens. I highly recommend it. And sometimes when you want to give that an idea of the space you're in, that's basically the same region where the picture with the large valleys was before, on the slide before. It's really can be useful to have a wide angle lens even if you don't use it, just for one or two shots. And also Iceland, lots of ports, small villages. They have an industry a little bit everywhere, and you do have some urbex, so get ready also for some interesting constructions all over. Here it's basically a rusty container that's used as an office. I think it's in Holmavik, in a small and really nice town on the sea. Here again, two photos. That's going west of the island, a little bit north of Reykjavik. It's in Stykkishólmur, and it's a port where you can take the ferry to go to the West Fjords, but it's a really very cute little town. They have this incredible church architecturally, which I highly recommend to see. That's the Stykkishólmskirkja. Not sure again I pronounce it right. And you also have on the picture on the right, that's a big geological formation on which you can stay and look at sunsets. That's a sunset at 10 p.m. basically, but it's a beautiful little port town. Here again, those two pictures. The picture on the right, that's a geological formation I was talking about, on which I was standing for the sunset, taken during the day. And on the left, again, those incredible lights you can get sometimes. Very low lights. Sometimes it gets really dark, but you still have the sun going through. Really incredible country. Here's those two pictures. The picture on the left, that's Snæfellsjökull National Park. It's north of Reykjavik. It's a peninsula on the west side. And it's a huge volcano. I believe, not sure, but I believe that volcano was the inspiration for Jules Verne's adventure in the middle of the earth. So it's an incredible mountain, incredible volcano, which is quiet, I believe. It looks quiet at least, but it's an incredibly big and impressive geological formation. And on the right, when you're traveling through the island, you've got sheeps all over during the summertime. Sheeps, horses. There's no predators, so they're kind of free, but they will come and check on you when you pass by, I guess for curiosity and to make their day a little bit more entertaining. But they're super friendly, quite photogenic in general, and some of them are actually quite funny. They will entertain you in response. Anyways, those are the pictures for this month. Hopefully it entertained you and you saw a few things. So a little short for this month, but we'll get some more for next month. Okay, any questions and comments welcome, of course, below. And see you next time.